it's so great that we've got systems now that everyone can kind of like not rely on developers and not rely on multiple teams having to build you stuff. But that just means there needs to be more communication, more guidelines, more training, so more people know how to maintain a consistent look and feel. I've got it called here as the patchwork effect, right? It's kind of like you get one person building a landing page that isn't quite using the updated CTA style that we're meant to be using, and then if that happens over time, it actually creates poor UX.
Welcome to Under the Hood.
Welcome back to another edition of Under the Hood. My name is Tony Eads, Chief Strategy Officer for Sorted Stone and also a business rethinker. And we're going to do a bit of business rethinking today, but of course, things look a little bit different. This is our new studio, everybody. We've gone up in the world. This is our brand new studio for Under the Hood from here on for Series 4 as we get into our 4th series, Episode 1. So hopefully you'll stay with us on our journey as we continue looking under the hood in this main kind of podcast and also vidcast. You can listen to us or you can watch us or you can do both, of course, with a vidcast. The show for sales and marketing professionals where we dive deep under the hood of the latest tech, tools and trends to help you work a little bit smarter. Now, we've got a great subject coming up, but first, I actually want to introduce to you a couple of new guests that we have. Firstly, to my right, if you are watching on video, if not, you'll just hear a different voice come up. It's Associate Creative Director APAC for Sorted Stone. A little bit about him. His name's Glenn, by the way. Starting his career as an artist, Glenn has always been passionate about visual design. He's also an avid fisherman. And we've seen lots of pictures of him doing fishing and fishermaning. With
no fish.
And not catching a single thing. So he claims to be an avid fisherman. Reflects his attention to detail and his love for balance. For Glenn, design isn't about making things look good. It's about ensuring every element has a functional purpose for the user. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Glenn Purcell.
Hey, thanks, Tony, and thanks for the invite. Looking forward to it.
I'm glad you turned up. Also, across from me here in the new studio, the new growth studio, we call it. And our thanks, of course, to We.Film. That's We.Film in Parramatta that have allowed us to come into this great little growth studio. We have someone from HubSpot joining us today, which is super exciting. Senior Partner Manager at HubSpot. She has an MBA in Marketing Management, accredited pastry chef. Now, we should have brought the ingredients in for that. We'll find out maybe a little bit about that later on. Who loves to play pickleball. Haven't had a chance to do that yet, but I'd love to try. Passionate about marketing, believes customer first approach is paramount, creating content that is best suited for the customers. Please welcome Sarah DeBoz.
Yay! Thank you so much, Tony, for the beautiful introduction. It's so lovely to be here. Thank you so much for having me here.
Pleasure to have you here, and thanks. So we're going to get into a deep and meaningful conversation, as we always do under the hood. We like to discuss all topics that might be relevant to you today. Why most websites don't convert. Now, of course, a lot of people will invest a lot in websites. So interestingly enough, because I often bring this up in previous episodes of Under the Hood, websites have been around since 1991. That's like over 30 years, yet we still call them websites, but they've changed. And in fact, if you haven't changed a lot of your website, you're going to find out what you've been doing wrong, because they should change. They should evolve. There's something like almost 2 billion websites that are out there in the world today. So for your website to cut through and convert, there's a few things you need to do, and there's quite a few things that you shouldn't be doing. So another quick stat, because I always like to start off with that, is according to Hotjar. Now, of course, Hotjar measures how people click around in a website from a user ability perspective. 92% of people said to Hotjar that cluttered layouts would make them switch to a competitor. So that's a pretty big one. So obviously, which is why we've got Glenn here as well, design makes sense, but also how do we think about the customer and think about moving the customer forward? So that's what we're going to talk about. Let's start with Glenn. Let's talk about the lovely thing called, well, it's not really lovely, but it's a great topic, poor user experience.
Yes. So, I mean, poor user experience, it's user experience is a lot of things. It's pretty much many different factors of a website cause your visitors to kind of fall off or not convert. And it's about doing as many of those little things right as you can. So, there's things like your navigation, the information architecture of your pages, little things like the button, the text on the button, the button styles. Have you got the proper hierarchy behind those buttons? Are your forms designed in a way that people understand how to fill them out? Do they look good? Are they consistent? And for me, it's about how many of those things are you doing right? And often when we look at websites of our clients and we're doing reviews on what they've spent time doing, is over time their kind of consistency diminishes, or they're doing some things but not other things. Yeah. And so it's about just focusing on and trying to get as many of those small things right as possible.
It's kind of like the 1%ers, isn't it? It's kind of like if you these things you just listed off don't sound like they're big changes to make, but they can be a big blocker for people. Do you find that, Sarah? Like, how frustrating is it for you when you go to a website and you can't even find what you're looking for because the navigation's all over the shop?
Oh, it's the most frustrating thing in the world. Like, websites are the brand's number one extension, where they meet with their customers, where they meet with their number one audience, right? So you kind of want to come to a website, and then you want to find all of the information in one easy UX and really easy navigation. And then you also wanted to be really easy for you, because we don't have time, Tony. We don't have time, Glenn. We just very busy. We have families. We have jobs to do 24/7. And if we wanted information, if we need something, we should be able to come to a brand's website and then find it straight away. And as the brands evolve, they should be able to change their website as quickly as possible, and then make it an ongoing change, ongoing creativity around it. Just because the consumer, the way that they do things change, and they're busy, and they need to just adapt to it.
I think that's such an important point, because I think a lot of people, I remember the early days, we talked about the early 90s and stuff like that. People would create a brochure website, set and forget, and not do anything about it.
So true.
But now it's the other way around. It's kind of like you have a living, breathing website that needs to change, and you need to be looking at data and changing it across that. So let me ask you this question. If someone's going through the process of creating a website, they shouldn't be just looking at, well, what does it look like? Where's my call to action button for someone to book a meeting? There's more to a website than that.
Yeah, much more. And I think you've got to look at the website holistically, but it's about thinking at each point, what is the purpose of this page? Who is this page for, and what's the core action of this page? And it's about really having discussions with your stakeholders, team members, thinking about the persona and making decisions based on that. And like you said, it's not a set and forget. So do that, and then use the tools that you've invested in to see, is it working? Is it not working? Should we change something or test something else to see if this is going to make it work better? And that's to your point, it's like you don't just build a website and leave it.
No.
It's about continual improvement, continually investing and getting into that mindset of, this is a part of our business that's vital to get right. So, I mean, redesigning a website once every 5 years, you're not going to get it right that one time. Like, you might have a good crack at it, but it's about consistently looking at it and working on it.
Yeah. And you said the interesting word there, which I know is at the heart of a lot of stuff that HubSpot does, and that's personas. And I think back in the 90s and when people first created websites, it was a one for all. It was just, it's more from them. This is our business and this is how we want to portray it, as you said, but like a brand. But it's changed, Sarah, hasn't it? Now it's more about, well, what is the customer looking for and who is that person?
Yeah, we at HubSpot, we believe in customer first approach. So, and we believe that our customers should approach it to their customers in that same way. So I would encourage all of the brands out there to understand who are they selling to? Who's buying their products? Who are, like, we call these a buyer personas, and buyer personas is essential to understand for sales and marketing, the engine for any company and any brand. If you don't understand who are your consumers, like who is buying from you, who's purchasing your services, then you will never be able to cater a beautiful website that will solve their problems, right? That's what I think.
Yeah, there's a good example of that where you can think about, and it's the personas at different stages of their life cycle, right? So it's like you might understand a persona, but you might talk to them different before they know who you are. And then if they're already a customer, you want to talk to them differently. So a good example I had recently working for a client of ours was they were trying to they have like a renewal service. So it's a service where every 12 months they kind of rebook a service of theirs. And so they would send out an email on the 10.5 month mark trying to get that renewal. And this landing page was coming up and there was some personalization, like the form fields would pre-fill, but the content on the page was so one way and it was like they were speaking to someone they've never met. And for me, if I've been engaged and paying money to this service monthly coming out of my bank account and I get this kind of email that's just, or a landing page that's like renew and it's so cold, I would feel like they don't really know me and they're not talking to me. It's just a blanket.
Yeah, so it's interesting because you're taking it one step further now, right? It's not just understanding who is the persona, so we're talking their language, but it's also where do they sit? Are they a prospect or are they a customer? Now, of course, Sarah, you're from HubSpot, so you have all this wonderful technology sitting under your seat there, which is all the AI, all the technology.
All
I saw you bring it in with you when you came in.
All the agents, all the bots.
Everybody thinks it's actually in the cloud, but it's really in Sarah's gigantic handbag that she brought with us.
Yeah.
So tell us how HubSpot, and actually first tell us, because there used to be this thing called CMS Hub, but that doesn't exist anymore.
Yes. Yes. So what happened with CMS Hub, it's got repurposed and now it's called Content Hub. And Content Hub is still a HubSpot CMS where you host your websites, but there's so much more. You can do your landing pages. It's all about content. So it's very much designed for marketers who are constantly creating content for their buyer personas. And yeah, it's so much more now. It's packed with so many different, with A/B testing, with personalization, with so many different features now.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Because I think one of the things people struggle with is the fact that we're calling it, they used to just set and forget, and now they know they can't set and forget, but they just don't have time to constantly evolve the website. So platforms like Content Hub can now help you not just, I think that's what HubSpot's identified.
Yeah.
The website isn't just its own hub.
No.
It's kind of so much more. It's the center of content, which brings me to the next question or point of discussion is the website should be part of the overall buyer journey, should it not?
100%.
Yeah, 100%.
No, I don't think you need a website.
Is this a real question?
Yeah, it's a loaded question.
Hold on.
So, yeah.
Hold
I was
on a second.
waiting for Sarah to say, no. We've created this whole content hub, but no, the website should just sit on its own.
It's more like what we believe is that we believe that your website has to be yours. Like you should be able to come in and make changes at any given time without without having any difficulties, without writing a code at the back end. And it just should be so easy for you to just add it like a little bit of a CTA, click to action, little buttons that you see on the websites. So that's why it has, that's why it's back to Glenn's point as well a little bit. It needs to have a little bit of a personalization on where the buyer's journey is. Whether if I'm just coming back to the website for the first time, or have I been to their website for multiple times, and it should just say, "Hey, Sarah, welcome back," and I shouldn't actually fill any forms because it's just so frustrating, and we don't have time. Back to how not brands not having time. I know I'm stretching the topic
I think
a
it's
bit
good.
different way, but.
I think to add to what you were saying about, having a Content Hub being an ecosystem where anyone can come in and create, right? And we want to make that easy. There's a few components to that. You need consistency. So you need to be able to set it up in a way where it's like, yes, anyone can create a button, but if you've got 20 different styles of button, you're going to have poor UX. So it's so great that we've got systems now that everyone can kind of like not rely on developers and not rely on multiple teams having to build you stuff. But that just means there needs to be more communication, more guidelines, more training, so more people know how to maintain a consistent look and feel. Because if everyone's just doing whatever they want, I've got it called here as the patchwork effect, right? It's kind of like you get one person building a landing page that isn't quite using the updated CTA style that we're meant to be using, and then if that happens over time, it actually creates poor UX, even though it is easy. And we talk about we want to iterate, so we don't want to just leave it. We do want to make the change, but that's a big part of making sure that when you do go through a website rebuild or you're looking to redesign your website, it's like, what technology am I using? And it's not just about design. It's also not just about designing a website for the people visiting your website. It's designing the back end system for the actual people who will be using it. So naming conventions and all of those things it goes so much broader than just what you see on the page to make a good experience.
It's a good point, and that's why I come back to what I was saying before about the buyer journey. Like, I think to your point, like, it's true. Everybody needs to be owning their own website, dealing with their own website. There's nothing worse than the old days ago. I keep going back to what was and isn't now. Where you used to go to a web developer, and if you didn't know code, that web developer really held everything. So you think, I want to make a quick change to my website. You'd wait. You have to brief the developer, wait days for it to come. That's all gone. Now with HubSpot CMS within the Content Hub, it's all in your hands. So to Glenn's point, yes, we need to train everybody, but to my point about the buyer journey, we need to have that strategy piece. Like if you create the journey of a first touch point with the customer right through to delight and getting these people as brand promoters, we then need to understand that the website pretty much plays a role across that whole journey, or a good portion of it, right? It's not just those first prospects where everybody thinks, it's all new business coming to my website. It's not. It's referral business. It's the customers. It's that, which is why you have things like knowledge base, so people can go there to answer questions. So I think we've got to get that across. I think the website now is not a 90s website or it's a brochure website. It's an evolving, living asset in your business.
And to your point about it being across, like the website does act across the full buyer journey, that can be pretty overwhelming when you've got multiple personas and multiple services and whatever. So at times it's easier to chunk that down and look at way smaller parts of the website. It could just be simply the booking the first demo, for example, and like, let's just focus on optimizing that part, because that is a key part to getting them into our funnel and starting to talk to them. For example, some businesses might be like, the biggest part of our website, the core thing we want to do is sell products. So you focus around that catalog experience. How do I show our products? How do we get it to be added to the cart? So I think it's about understanding, like, what is the main kind of action or tool that your website is providing the persona, and focusing in on one part, because you can get very overwhelmed if you look at the whole website at once.
I think the same way you can get overwhelmed if you just tuck into HubSpot without any of this pre-thinking beforehand. Because, I mean, talk to us about then the back end. So if Glenn's kind of talked about, okay, we've mapped out the front end, we know what the customer wants to do, but now we need to build the website, and importantly, we need to manage the website. So just take us through like how you see the user friendliness, I suppose, of having a CMS like HubSpot.
This is actually a very tough question to talk to. I would love to.
Because we don't have a lot of time.
Yeah, not about the time, but it will be so much better if, like, so I believe that it's so much better if you actually see it. So that's why I encourage everyone to, if anyone wants to have an access to their website 24/7 and make quick changes and wants to own it, I encourage them to have like almost like a demo, a little bit of a demonstration from HubSpot of what that looks like, because it's very comprehensive. So I can put through a lot of different like anonyms and different features and functions in here, like A/B testing, the personalization, but it could be just too much to digest in first point. So I believe in seeing it in action, and then especially like how easy to create a landing page with one click, and then we add one CTRL drop. It's basically it's all built as a drag and drop editor.
Yeah.
So whatever you want to do is you want to add a picture, you click on the little plus button. So it's hard for me to talk about it, but
you're willing to offer a demo by the sounds of it, because I think you were visually. So I started to picture it. I could see the drag and drop.
Yeah,
All we
exactly.
needed was
Think about like a drag and drop.
you were in the tools,
editor.
and then we could have been.
Yeah, I was visualizing it. I'm a visual person.
I'm glad you didn't start going, can you put up this here and this here?
Exactly.
Back to the editing of today's episode.
But I wanted to go back to Glenn's point, which and your point as well, Tony, which is so important of like how you start as a brand identity. So that's the main starting point, I reckon. The brand identity, understanding who you are as a brand, what you do, what are you known for, what do you want to be known for, and then like maybe just understand that. Then understand your buyers, understand where are they in their buyer journey. And then come to like this briefing of a beautiful website that you have this envisioning, even if it's a small, even if it's not a small, but even if it's like an e-commerce website that you want to sell products to, it doesn't matter. You're still selling the products to the people that is identified with your brand.
Yeah.
People come to you for a reason. Understand why.
Yeah, and I think, Glenn, we call that website road mapping.
Yep, I mean,
which is exactly what you're saying. Strategy first. Think about it. Pull the lens back before you actually get in, because people just want to have this website. Hey, I want it in 2 weeks' time. Just build it. HubSpot can do that.
Yeah, HubSpot can do that within a day.
Don't do it unless it's a one pager.
Yeah.
So why is road mapping so important?
Whenever I hear website project come up, it's kind of like my brain always goes beyond the website. It's like the website is one thing, and like you're saying, brand identity, like how's your content, what is your product, why is it better than others? Like there's so many things. The website is just the place that people come to like interact. And so if you've not done your persona work, or if you've not done a good brand identity or a visual ID, by redesigning your website, you're not going to fix those things. The website doesn't mean that you're going to have personas. The website doesn't mean you have a new brand identity. The website doesn't mean you got all these things. So sometimes it's about educating about what should happen first.
Yeah.
And then you get to the website. You need to understand this before you do this.
Yeah.
And that's road mapping is where we do that, where we dive back, we get the context of the business. We try and understand the product, understand the consumers. What is your brand doing? Does it need refreshing?
Yeah.
And identify where value can be, where money can be spent for the most value, because not all businesses need a redesign. Not all businesses need new blogs. So it's about really understanding what's going to work best for them and working in that way.
That's good. I'm going to ask you guys to give us a tip as we start to close off before our last segment in this episode. But have a think about, some tips for people on the positive. What should they do? I'm going to start with one. And it goes off the back of what you were saying, Sarah, about what is your brand? Like, what does your brand say? Because this is your public-facing brand, and the image around it. So I challenge you to go into our old friend Ask GPT. You go into the old 4.0 one, of course, the one that's there, and actually asked Chat GPT, tell me what I need to know about X, which is your company, and then just have a look at what ChatGPT is saying or finding about you, because a lot of that will be them searching and having a look at what your brand messaging and your wording is, and then just look at it and say, is my website really telling my full brand story? Look at what ChatGPT is telling people about your brand, and then say, well, hang on, we're more than that, but our website doesn't say anything more about that. So I think that's always a good. I love using ChatGPT just for that kind of stuff. And I put it in. Tell me about Sorted Stone, and I go, well, hang on, we don't just do that. We do this.
And
that
you know why?
help.
Because your website hasn't been updated to reflect. You could have all these decks and stuff you're doing in your sales process that's like, this is the new Salted Stone, and this is what we do. But if it's not on the website, or it's not published in the public domain, people won't understand that. They're only going to see that information
Yeah.
if they speak to you.
Yeah, 100%. It's like I always say, because I do brand workshops, and we would say a brand is what people say about you when you're not around. It's very easy for me to say, oh, well, Sorted Stone's this and we do all of that. But if I'm not around, what are other people saying about, oh, no, Sorted Stone's this company that does whatever. So that would be my advice. Sarah, what do you have as a big takeaway for people that are thinking about, I'm not sure my website's it's not converting?
Ooh, this is a very, very tough question.
And you can't go to a demo with this one.
I love a demo. I have to say, you have to see it. Well, you can tell that I'm a visual person. I don't know if I'm giving away, because this is I prepped something for your toolkit
Don't give that away.
Oh, don't give that away.
No,
okay. So I'll just pass this to Glenn for a second.
So maybe you can just say, do a demo of the platform and you'll fall in love with HubSpot Content Hub.
Yes, and ChatSpot. That's the AI.
Oh, ChatSpot. That's it. Actually, and without going forward with our toolkit, I've got something as well, which is from the HubSpot thing, which helps along AI. But
exactly,
Glenn's our big web
My message
guru.
around like website performance and making sure you're converting and, the website is acting how it should be is really around continuous improvement. So like if you leave things unattended, or if you things become outdated and ineffective, you shouldn't just invest in your website every 5 years. And I see this so often is like we get briefs come in, we want to redesign our website, we haven't touched it for so long. And I think the biggest shift in business needs to be continuous investment. You do the website redesign project and you don't forget about it until a year's time or whatever. You invest you budget into looking at it, improving it, optimizing it regularly. And if the businesses that do that are the ones that I feel are winning. It's not a set and forget mentality. You've got to work on it all the time.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
And I think the piece about budget, we didn't get onto that, but I always put it back to, well, if you were building a shop, on a high street, how would you put a budget on that? How would you actually say, well, I don't want to spend $20,000 on the shop front? You go, okay, well, you can't have this and you can't have that. We'll just stick some posters up in the window. And then how much do you expect people to come in, engage, and even buy from you? So think about the investment and think about, the return you're going to invest.
And the same thing, like if you've got plants out the front of that shop front and you don't water them and they die, it's going to look uninviting. So you've got to continually put new content in your blog. You've got to refresh the image on your homepage. It's just small investments are going to be way better than just a big investment every now and then.
And a set and forget.
I have to add one more thing to that. I have this funny rule. This is absolutely personal. So this is
So you heard it first here on Under the Hood. She hasn't told anybody this before.
Yes,
Come on, Sarah. Spill the beans.
This is the first time I'm spilling the beans. I call it a 10-second rule. So if you are a brand new customer coming into a website, and if you cannot understand what services do they offer, what are they doing, what are they selling, who they are, and what do they do, within 10 seconds of you coming to the website as a consumer, that is a big no-no for me.
That's a very good thing. Yeah. And to be honest, I think it's even less than that, isn't it? In terms of people bouncing off a website if they get there and they think, this is not what I'm looking for.
Exactly.
It's so important. So 10-second rule, really good point to go.
I don't know if I created it because I'm a mother with 2 kids and I have no time with a full-time working job. And it's just because of that. But I genuinely think that if it's the same as the elevator pitch, right? So if you cannot tell who you are, what you do, and what you be known for within 10 seconds in your elevator pitch, and if you can't show it visually in your websites, then it's time to have a little bit of a step back and think about it, and then put that thinking cap on, and then come to Glenn, and so for Glenn to design the roadmap and the roadmap and beautiful design.
Well, that's a great little takeaway. So do that one. There's a good action point. You can do it yourself. Go and have a look at your website, or get somebody else to have a look at your website. Probably even better. Start the clock, 10 seconds, and then afterwards, someone doesn't know your business, and say, well, what did you find? What do you think we sell? It's amazing what people say. Oh, oh, you sell pizzas. We go, no, well, what's that logo up in the corner? It looks like a Pizza Hut.
I hope not.
No. Well, also another little takeaway for you. So HubSpot actually has a blog. We put a link at the bottom of the description of this episode. 19 examples of bad website design in 2024, brackets, what they got wrong. So if you want some further reading, have a look at that. There's some interesting ones in there. So check it out, 19 examples of bad website design in 2024, so completely up to date. But right now, as always, part of the format is we ask each guest to discuss an interesting tool that they've been playing around with. And we're going to do that right now in a little segment we call... So welcome back. This is the Toolkit segment. So I'm really interested to see what the team have dug out, especially Sarah when she turned up with all her bags of AI tools and everything else that is called HubSpot.
Under my chair.
Instead of the cloud, it's all there with Sarah. She protects it all. And also Glenn being the creative one. But I might start off if that's okay. So my toolkit this week is Breeze. Pilot. So Breeze is one of the new things that HubSpot released at Inbound recently, but Pilot is my new favorite, my new personal assistant. So it's kind of like a mix of not just ChatGPT, but HubSpot, Intel, everything all rolled into this cute little tool that you just click up in the navigation bar there. And it's so good. So what I've actually tested it for is that actually bringing it together and empowering me from a sales perspective. I've put my hat on as a salesperson and I went in there and I said, okay, so I'm just about to meet with a company, similar to what I was just saying before about finding out what your brand is, just about to meet with this prospect. Tell me everything I need to know about this prospect. Mm-hmm. And not only does it then bring up instantly a little bit of general information, the company size is this, they do this, X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
But also if I've actually tracked them before, maybe I've worked with them and forgotten in the last few years, it'll actually pull from HubSpot and tell me that you had this as an MQL or whatever that might be. But then I can take it one step further and I can say, okay, so I'm going to meet with that company. Now give me 5 other companies similar to this prospect. And it will come up with 5 companies similar to the prospect. And then I went one step further and I said, okay, now draft me up an introduction email to these 5 companies from what I know about the other company, inviting them to come along to a growth strategy workshop with me. And then it will give me that, which I can then take across into my sales CRM, tweak it a little bit, and then start outreach. So something I love, and that's only high level, is Breeze Pilot. Check that out. That's in the new in the new editions of AI. Who wants to go next and reveal their tool?
Have you ever done a toolkit that isn't AI?
Actually, that's true.
Love
We'll have to go back
that.
through all this.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think you might. Are you going to get one of those new Tesla robots? Have you got one on pre-order?
Actually,
I'm a big fan of AI.
I did a story on radio the other day actually about the Tesla robots and how scary they were. I don't know if you've seen the video, but they actually asked the robot, what is your main challenge that you have? And it said, learning to be a human like you. And all of a sudden everyone's thinking about iRobot and Will Smith and the robots taking over. So no, I don't want one right now.
Sarah, what have you got?
Okay, let me just open my toolkit.
Sound effects.
Yeah, insert sound effects plan.
I can do that.
I have, my favorite thing at the moment is HubSpot's new AI search grader. It's a free tool that is open and available for anyone who's got a URL, who's got a website. And what it does, it's just like a little bit, when you first land onto the AI search grader page, it's basically look at your business and look at your website and then tell how your business is doing in ChatGPT answers. It includes 4 components, like the overall grade, brand sentiment score, share of voice score, and personalized analysis. And it allows the brands to understand their strengths and weaknesses when it comes to their competitors. And it also gives a little bit of a pointers on how to improve their brand as well. And that's the most important. It's not just gives you a score and says, hey, you're like, you're suffering from the XYZ, but it also tells you a little bit of tips of where to improve as well.
That's so exciting, especially I know when we've done brand strategy with clients before, and then we come up with SMART goals. Mm-hmm. One of the goals that's always been a challenge is how do I measure my brand effectiveness? So HubSpot's already on the ball because that will go towards that about, well, what's my voice? How well am I out there? And then you could set that probably as a benchmark
Exactly.
to then improve on.
And it's available for everyone. It's a free tool.
Free.
It's a great way to start and understanding. Anyone can just jump in and understand where their website is stacking or how their business is like looking at for when it compared to a competitor. So it's a good one to be aware of, like, and to use.
And that's got AI in it as well. Did you notice that?
Yeah. Well,
so
AI.
first time on the show, and she's doing AI.
Well, I've got to change mine. Mine doesn't have AI now. No, I was going to say, so like that tool though, you could use it for exactly that. You could use it to search your competitors, see what they're doing well. And I would also suggest that you should use that ongoing, right? Don't just use it and then go, okay, fix these things and never use it again. It's like, make the fixes, run it again, run it every year, see how you're improving, have things changed in the ecosystem. It's always going to back to that mindset of continually improving.
So Glenn, tell us about your non-AI.
Well, I feel like I'm going way back. I feel like I'm presenting a tool.
His tools are getting a bit rusty, Sarah, but anyway, they're still practical.
Mine's not even new.
Oh dear.
I don't even have a new tool. I've got an old rusty toolbox here. But
it.
Rusty tools do work well.
Of course.
But this is not a rusty tool. This is so. I wanted to talk about A/B testing.
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah,
I have to say.
The reason I wanted to bring it up
A/B testing.
is because of the topic we're speaking about, and I just think it's an underutilized tool. Many businesses, in my eyes, treat testing as a nice to have. And back to the point about continually optimizing, I think it should be a much bigger investment. And it's so easy to use. It's like, why wouldn't you design 2 versions and let people's interactions tell you which one works? Taking the guesswork out of it and actually making decisions based on what people do. So for me, this is a tool that's a no-brainer for improving user experience. And it helps you kind of make changes and iterations to your website for like the evolving needs of your audience. So it might be like your homepage today doesn't work like your homepage next year. Making adjustments to your homepage is a big thing. So why not do it in an A/B variation? It's like, let's keep the old one, let's run the new one and actually see if it works better than the old one before we publish it. Like, why get rid of the old one if the old one's actually going to perform better than your new design homepage?
Yeah. I think you're right, because a lot of people make changes for no reason. It could be timing, it could be buttons in the wrong place or whatever, and you go and change the whole landing page because you haven't really tested it.
And I think it's that mindset of getting into iterations, optimizations, and continual improvement. That's
awesome.
The main thing I'd say.
So the interesting thing is the whole idea with Toolkit, Sarah, is that we put a link at the bottom. So you and I are okay. I'm just interested to know what Glenn's going to put as his link. He might have put a number of them, or is it? You called it a tool. Is there actually
I'll put
a link to it?
I'll give you a free demo. I'll put in a demo link.
Yes,
book a demo with Glenn.
Yes,
for an
the
A/B
bearded one.
testing. Or HubSpot, HubSpot page.
Yeah. That sounds good. All right, guys, thank you so much for being on our first episode of Series 4. Sarah, lovely to see you. Thank you. Come back again. We'll save the seat for you. Bring the merch with you next time.
Yes, I will. I will try my best for you, Tony.
Thank you. We've got it on tape now. And Glenn, thanks very much for being here. We're normally working together, not actually podcasting together.
Vidcasting. It's not vidcasting.
Vidcasting,
Vid posting. Is it? What is it? It's called vidcasting.
Yeah,
vidcasting.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
But it could be when we put the video up, then it becomes vid posting.
Exactly.
It never ends. Terminology. Who cares? Anyway, thanks very much for joining us for Under the Hood, under the new look studio, the growth studio I'm calling it, from We.Film in Parramatta. Thanks to the guys for hosting us here today. Now, there is another special episode coming up of Under the Hood before we finish for the year. And I'm proud to say the next one will be a special episode because I've managed to hook him down, tie him up, well, hopefully not literally, Vice President, Managing Director for HubSpot JPAC, the one and only Dan Bogner. So Dan and I are going to have a bit of a chin wag under the next Under the Hood with some more great insights, especially around unlocking some of those great insights that have come out the back of Inbound 2024. In the meantime, if you're not part of the Under the Hood family, then please make sure you click the link below that you'll see to make sure you subscribe, never miss an episode again. And also suggest a topic. Like, we'd love to hear from you. We'll challenge, we'll get the right people in that can answer the topic rather than challenge the people that can't. But if you've got a topic for Under the Hood, let us know. But in the meantime, thanks very much for tuning in or listening in. If you're on the podcast, if you're on the vidcast, you've seen us live in the new studio. So maybe if you're listening, go over to the vidcast. My name's Tony Eads. Thanks very much for joining us for Under the Hood.